YouTube, it is another episode. It's been a hot minute since we've been back recording. So this week, as I'm dressed up, we are going somewhere. So my friend Emily's over from Sweden. We travelled quite a bit together in 2019, 2018. We've been quite a few places together. So we're going to let you in some secrets on how to make friends whilst you travel, and also get Emily's experience on how to travel and work at the same time. But now we're about to go to the Dubai Opera House to watch a George Michael tribute. So we're all dressed up, ready to go. See what it's about.
It's driven on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, and I'm feeling so good, so good.
Good morning. Ready to read. It's a nice book. I think if I would have made a book in 2019, this probably would have been it. And what it actually said, very relatable. If you're working on your own and you're wondering how to do it, post-COVID world, and we'll look at it. Solo is the answer for the book. But these lazy mornings or these reading mornings are a really good time for you to kind of get stuff in when you don't have time in the rest of the day. A lot of people will fall into the category of trying to be part of the 5am club and end up being really tired during the rest of the day. I tried to do the 5am club, I tried to do everything else, but I couldn't do it. I was just really sleepy by 3pm, whereas these morning times now where you get like a block in the morning, like an hour and a half to just get everything done for the day. So like
this video for a very important announcement. I want to invite you all to our Facebook group. We have a 6 Phases to Forever Facebook group, which is a part of our coaching process that is free, that you can get lots and lots of value on a week-to-week basis. I go live once a week. There's plenty of content in there, and there's always special bonus material if you're looking at getting in shape, or how to stay in shape forever. So if you are wanting that, the link will be here somewhere, and then also it'll be in the description. So guys, see you there, and you get to see my ugly mug on a week-to-week basis.
Do a little bit of reading, you have a shower, you get packed up for the day, then you head out at 9 or something like that. It's just absolutely phenomenal. I know that most people, if you're working in a corporate environment, you don't have the choice of that, but I would definitely recommend it if you're self-employed or you're working from that. A little bit of morning time, a little bit of evening time, the rest of the time is work. It's better than just trying to hatch your eggs all in one basket. I find that most people that start either the 5am club or they may purposely start later in the day never really have that morning and evening time to relax. And I think having those small pockets of time like that is really important. How you're going to manage your day as well. So I'm going to get with some reading. Emily's making her eggs, so we will get to work and train at the gym downstairs, put some footage of that in, and then we will crack on with the day. Going to meet a good friend who's back from travelling today as well. Elliot's going to come over, and I'm sure we'll have a conversation about something with him. Very insightful guy. See you soon.
To the beach, we are going now.
So we're back from the gym to the beach.
Have not exercised today.
No, we're back from the beach, newly showered, bit toasty. We're going to talk about how, well, me and Em have travelled quite a bit over the last couple of years, Em more than me actually, which is quite phenomenal considering how many countries you've been to and how many places you've been to when you started when you were younger. What is the biggest thing that you've learned from travelling alone?
Wow, what a big question that is actually. Oh my god, you should have prepared me so I could. I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that you just make things happen. Like, you know, you get put in a place where it's not up to you really. You have to follow another system, and you just learn to adapt. Like adaptability, I think is a great gift from traveling. But that goes, I mean, far beyond professionally. I think that goes way more into like a personal skill, because it's a good skill to have, to be able to adapt to anything. So.
How did you deal with loneliness while you were away?
I don't feel loneliness, I think. I think when you just meet people, you put yourself out there, you know. I mean, I'm an introvert as well, so for me to go and put myself out there is actually more taxing than to then actually be in a group of people. The act of, now I need to make the effort to meet people is way harder than to actually be around people. But I like to be alone, so I think it's hard. I mean, when I was traveling in New Zealand, I realized I was just alone all the time. I sat in a car alone, I stopped and I walked alone, and it's like, I actually really enjoy it. I never feel, well, maybe we do feel lonely, but I don't know. Like we said, we talked about it yesterday. I'd rather be alone than to feel lonely around people. So, and I'm like a very like, you know, a spiritual, earthly. So whenever I can go out and just explore, I don't feel alone. Like I don't feel alone. Yeah. So loneliness is it's an unfamiliar feeling. I think when I'm traveling, like when maybe it's easier. I mean, with the pandemic, I was a lot more lonely, even though I was surrounded by people, because there's like constraints, and that can make me feel edgy. And then I don't know how I deal with it.
And how did your travelling experience differ between the likes of Bolivia and all these types of places where you weren't working versus now where, you know, we've been to a few different places when we've both actively worked, we've both been online coaches, you know, the trip to Hong Kong or, you know, even just to Sweden or whatnot, where Emily's from. Then, and I had to dress up as a Superman.
Yeah.
And that's definitely another story for another day. There's a reason why I've got a scar on my lip for being a Superman on a boat, drunk. How did that differ? Like, you've now travelled both solo, living your best life as a traveller. You've worked as now a worker. How's that different?
I mean, huge, because at that point, for the people who listen to this, traveled 5 months in Central, South, and North America, and I wasn't working at all. So at that point, it's like the options of doing things are like endless, right? And you can just cruise at any time of the day. I was also in my very early 20s, and I would party at night, I could sleep in, time was not really in essence, but also if I couldn't work, you had to sit in like an internet cafe at that point, I could barely talk to people at home. So I think there was no time in that sense, like time didn't exist in those 5 months. Now when you travel, it's like time is a real thing. It's like you still have to, like, I'm a huge believer that whenever I go somewhere, there's pleasure and work. But then I see work as pleasure as well. So I actually look forward to sit down and work when I'm away, because it gives you that sense of like, I've chosen me and I have fun, and I've seen different cultures. I've done all of this, but then like I really look forward to sit down and work and do things. So, but it's just planning, isn't it? And to go, okay, what do I have to have done? When I travel a little bit more, I go more into what is my must get done, because there are endless things that we can do. So for me, I go, what is the minimum things that I need to do, which like what are the non-negotiables, and then do I just try and chill a little bit more instead of going I need to push even harder. It's like I'll just go and actually let me take a step back, let me enjoy myself, and make sure that everything that needs to happen happens to my best abilities, and like the people I coach, like always making sure that that's good. But then I don't need to like think long term at this point. I'll go like, okay, what do I need to get done right now, and I can feel very happy and content about it, because I do think that if we're traveling just for the sake of traveling and not being present in where you are, like what's the fucking point?
You can be anywhere in an internet cafe, doesn't really fucking matter. You can be anywhere in a hotel. If you're not getting out and being present with the place, the people, what's the point?
Yeah, so I try to be way more just specific of like, what do I want to get done? And then after that, I don't actually think about work. I'm like, fuck. There's always the feel of, I could do more. I guess you might feel the same, like the guilt of, am I too lazy now? Or that's like, I guess a feeling that you have to like juggle. But yeah, I believe in presence, and I think that pays forward into your business as well. Because how often have we sat and we worked like 16, 18-hour days, and then you go like, have you really I don't know, I'm a strong feeling like I want to feel really good when I work, and if I just work for the sake of working, because I have a stress of a perception that I put on myself, I just have to go, okay, relax. So yeah.
And then a lot of people, we did an episode recently about how to pick your accommodations, how to pick different places. Speak about the times that you've had in like Bolivia and Cuba. Because I remember there was one time where you just text me randomly and you're like, I'm still alive, I'm texting you from a scratch card Wi-Fi phone book thing in Cuba. That was fairly recently.
Yeah.
How did that affect work, or how could it affect work, travel, play, and was that a big thing for you?
Well, that particular trip, I was not self-employed, right? So I was contracted. So at that point, I wasn't working when I was in Cuba. It was like I think it was like 12 days or something. And also, I didn't realize that I went to a country where work would have been impossible. So I think that's something that I think we juggle with as well. Like, how do we go and explore all of these places? But we need to make sure that there's internet, because we're fucked if there's no internet. And at that trip, it would have been, we would have been like, ooh, this is not a business trip. How do I choose? I think this is where I have a little bit of a adventurous side of me that likes to not plan and kind of, I call myself Pocahontas in spirit, right? Like, go where the wind takes me. So I often don't plan my trips. I might know where I'm gonna land and like where I'm gonna stay when I start, but then it's very open. So that trip was crazy because I ended up literally, and then this is what I mean, you don't know that when you go there, but so I was like getting myself on a bus, and then you don't book accommodation, you just walk down the street and go like, you want to stay at my house? And I'm like, I have a look, and and it's all in Spanish, and it's like, you just rely on people. And I met this guy from, I think he was Australian, and I just met him, and he's like, spoke better Spanish than me. So we decided to like buddy up, and so I was like at the mercy of his Spanish expertise, right? So we ended up staying in the same Casa Particular that it was called, and like, but you just literally like, oh, this feels good, I'm gonna go here. So yeah, there's been many times I've just gone, I don't know where I'm going, I just have a feeling that this is where I need to go. And then I like human interaction. So I mean, when I was traveling in my younger years, that's when I was like, you talk to people, like, oh, we come from here, we stayed in that hotel. And you just gone from like word of mouth, and it turned out to be really, really awesome. I think that's the beauty of traveling, especially traveling alone, because at that point it's like you actually can't rely on the bubble that you have with someone else. And then you also always have to be the driver of the bus, so you don't actually, you can't just go, oh, do you want to choose? Like, no, I have to consciously always like make a decision, and I like that, it's empowering. And then just trust other people, and like develop a good emotional intelligence to go, actually, I trust you, for some reason I trust you, and then be a bit street smart and don't trust everything that everyone says all the time, but yeah.
I think we're on two ends of the spectrum there. Like, for me, I had a list of things that I wanted to do, still have that kind of bucket list to kind of tick off over time. And probably the negatives of doing it the way that I do it is that you build up this anticipation of going to this place and seeing this thing, or wanting to do it based on, I don't know, like a predisposition of what it's going to bring you. So the likes of, you see people top 5 destinations or places I want to go and visit is Dubai, Bali, Australia, Thailand, maybe somewhere Colombia or something like that, or the 7 wonders of the world, or something specific like that. And it's like, well, why did you choose the 7 wonders of the world? What is it that there's not wonders everywhere else? And like they are things to see, and they are things like one of the greatest things I have ever seen in mass intricacies and just absolute downright outrageousness is the Great Wall of China. Like, when you go and see that, you realise, holy shit, like, there's another world out there which don't speak English and work in hieroglyphics, and then the rest of it, it's a complete utter shift. Like, to be able to build that thing is just phenomenal.
And how old is it?
It's thousands of years old.
That's what I mean, like, just get like at awe of history, for sure.
But the only reason why I went there was because I thought it was the thing that I needed to do, and like a thing I needed to tick off because I was this traveller. And whilst I probably would still recommend people to do the 7 wonders, like, you can go and find wonders everywhere, and by going and do these things, and by going to these particular places, it doesn't bring you happiness or fulfillment or even like achievement, because again, millions of people have done the same shit as you. Like, we're chasing for that uniqueness, we're chasing for that, we're finding our own journey, our own path, And whilst you can tick all these things off, which I did, that's why now it's really quite difficult to choose a place to go to, because there is less desire to, do what has been socially included on us. Like, they're called the 7 wonders. Why not the 12? Why not the 15? Why not the 25? Why not? You could go to a subset in Colombia and see more outrageously unique things with more history and more diversity than anywhere in the world, or you could pick a place and just completely do that with every single place. So once you tick off those boxes, you then become in that situation of like, okay, well, if sociality or like the interactions or the conformist nature of us doesn't actually now exist because you've ticked all those boxes off, which I'm probably there now apart from like the North Pole or the Northern Lights, because I chose to go to Ibiza instead, and maybe somewhere like Hawaii or those type of places, or Colombia itself, or South America. I need to go to a lot more South America. Is that you then think, okay, well, why don't I go with the flow, like the way that the way that you did things and the way that you do things? It's like, we can go and be present everywhere and enjoy those particular things, and what level life takes us, we can maneuver that. But I think if you are watching this and you're like, well, I need somewhere to go, I've got this perceptive bucket list of things that I should go and see around the world, go and tick those off first, and then come into the nature of maybe being a bit flowy. If you have the idea of that, you've got a specific subset of time, which I believed. I was like, I'm only going to do an online coach. I'm only going to get this opportunity once, so I need to go and blast through everything. And then you realise the game is infinite. You realise that you can travel for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Even if you're not an online coach, you can go and work in a restaurant and then go and live in Thailand and spend very, very minimal on a day-to-day basis and save your money that way. You could do anything like that. But going with the wind or going with the flow seems to be a logical scenario if you can do that.
I never thought about it that way. Like, I would love to see the 7 wonders, but it never occurred to me to choose that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of interesting that we've just experienced the same things, but not like the specifics as in traveling, and yet we've done it from a whole different point of view. Yeah, I just go with the flow, man. I just go with the flow, and I think that the great thing is also that you go somewhere. I don't know. Did you find the 7 wonders more amazing than like finding that one little awesome cafe where there was a really nice person that shared their life story? Like, the memories that I have when traveling is not that I went to a specific city or a country. It's like it's the one experience of an off-site road that just got there, and it's like, that's the thing that touched your heart. Like, when I think of Cuba, I think of this one person who came up to me and talked to me and showed me around his city, and I got to go into his house. He made me a coffee, and I saw how they were living in like misery, and that's the thing that I remember the most. Not that I was like, oh, the cars in Cuba, and like no, I don't remember that as much. And it's like, those are the things that I look for when I go traveling. It doesn't matter where you go. Right, so
it's the same with me. Like, one of the most impactful or just crazy moments that we ever experienced is I was in Jordan with a friend called Mal, and she's an online coach too, and basically we did our work in the mornings and we went to Petra. And in Petra is massive. It's like a national park if you're going to compare it to somewhere in the UK or something where you just pay entry and you just see absolute wonders. And we've seen that. We've seen Petra with all of the beautiful monasteries and whatnot. And then we went for a walk. And in that walk, we came across two locals who lived in the area of Petra, or they lived on the stone and the rocks and the rock face in the mountains, and they were just making a cup of tea, and then we sat down with them, and they offered us a drink, and we sat down and had really, really sugary tea with this bread that they'd made on a stove. And we just started talking, and we ended up having these conversations about where they lived in the mountains, that there was families of them in between these cracks of mountains, that they stayed there in the night time with lots of other families, and they came out in the daytime to obviously make tea, maybe catch some food or whatnot, or potentially come and have a cup of tea with locals or other people because probably got some money or whatnot. But those moments where you're sitting down with people that are living in mountains, and you're there on a business trip, traveling, earning probably 25 years worth of pay in 1 week than they would do in a year, or even 10 years, and then you get that perspective. And that was they were wonderful times. So I don't think there's ever one way or other way to travel, but equally, hopefully you can see the perspective of one that was a little bit more structured at the beginning, and that had like set sights on predetermined factors, and then another person that just goes with the flow. And those ways all work, as long as, again, you don't go to Cuba and you have no fucking internet. But you can.
It worked. I got back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. Like, there's no right or wrong way of traveling, and I think just choosing and feeling good about choosing, and maybe also like it's like anything, don't expect that losing all the weight is going to make you happier. It's like you need to choose the route to happiness, and the weight will come off at the same time, right? So it's kind of the same with traveling. Don't think that you're going to feel this amazing grandiose feeling by just having gone somewhere and seen this amazing thing. It's like actually those two they don't always correlate.
No. Because you're going to Petra, you're going to these places, I'm still checking my phone for emails, still checking for this, that and the other.
Yeah.
You're still having to do work in the morning, still doing work in the evening, and sure you can take the time off and you can do that, but like if you want to go and travel and experience and be mindful of everything, then you also have to take that pinch of salt as well, where you like you said, you compartmentalise, you do the non-negotiables on that specific day, and you go in for coffee and you go and do the thing that you want to go and do. It's just super interesting.
You just pre-frame what you want out of it. If you're someone who would do like you traveled for a whole year, of course you have to be a little bit more ruthless with your work, right? It's like, but there probably were times when you worked more than you actually experienced in that particular country or city, right? So then you can question like, what was the intent of going there? But if you are someone who do like a few trips a year, maybe stay a little bit longer, then I think that there is time to see and actually integrate a little bit more. Like what you do now, if I go somewhere, I want to stay for a while, because you recognize that actually you get more out of it, probably for work and for life, right? So yeah, there's no right or wrong. I just think finding what works for you and be happy with it. That's what it comes down to.
So we are going to get some work done, and we are going to crack on. And what are we going to do for the rest of the day?
Work.
Just work.
We've been to the beach. We chose ourselves first, and now we're going to go and work for everyone else.
Yeah, and then
That's how it is.
Back to the grind tomorrow, and after the normal coffee shop. So we'll catch you tomorrow, and and I'm going to show you Emily's glasses now that she can become the meme.
Yeah.
Well, we'll show you next week. Right, catch you soon. Mi hombre.
Mi hombre. Wait.
How's things? So we're here with my hombre, Elliot, who's just got back from a South American trip. Does a lot of online coaching, lots of travelling, and we've been living quite similar lifestyles over the last couple of years as well. So just turned up in Dubai one day, so we're here now. Obviously with Elliot and then Emily we spoke to before, a lot of the stuff is around how to travel solo. Elliot loves his own free time, introvert, and loves his own time. So what big tips have you got for people that love to travel solo?
Love to travel solo. I would say that the home doesn't come from the external environment. If you create stability within yourself, then that's going to create stability wherever you are. And there are little hacks, like you can get things that remind you of home. Like that's, I think the problem with most people is they miss home, they miss like their familiar connections and everything like that. So as long as you've got something in place where that reminds you of home, you have frequent connections with the people who matter to you, like you'll find your rhythm as well. Like I find if I call my family every 2 or 3 weeks, that's fine for me. If I contact you every so often, that's good for me. But if I just left it and didn't make the effort to do so, which is easy to do when you get caught up with traveling, you get caught up with working, then it becomes a problem. But if you are maintaining those connections, making it feel like home, then I think that's the key for me anyway.
Yeah, and then when you've been travelling previously, what type of stuff, like rules on when you travel? Emily was speaking about how she's more of a laissez-faire, will go with the flow when she goes from next place to next place, whereas I'm a structured individual, you know what we did.
Yeah.
So I'd be boom, 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 boom. How do you play it?
From a work perspective or just a travel? Like,
Travel and work perspective.
okay, I'm way more on the structured side, like you. I can't go with the flow like everyone does, but I would think that would be helpful for me at times. So I'd probably for you as well. I think I would like to embrace more of the flowy side, but for me it's structures. Like I won't, for example, I flew on a Sunday today. I'm not going to fly on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's just not going to happen. So we're going to interfere with work too much. I'm going to be very selective about where I stay. Like the place that I stay is the most important thing, because it needs to be a good and productive environment for me to work in. I can work from coffee shops, but I want to work from home or a nice hotel. So those things are really important to me. And then just making sure that you've got that universal structure that you can take anywhere, battle tested, right? If it doesn't hold up in one country, there's probably a problem with the structure. So I found that you can make it work even if, for example, when I was on a -6 time zone to the UK and now I'm on a +4, but my structure still stays the same. I just had to work a little bit earlier on Sunday to make it happen. So I think, just finding that universal structure, maybe embracing spontaneity a little bit more, making room for spontaneity is probably something I need to work on. But I think, having something that you can carry at every country is key to maintain your productivity at work. Right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And one thing I actually I stole from you back when we were in Dubai and we've been to some other places was that home is like really, really important. The accommodation has to be nailed, right?
Yeah.
So what are the 3 things you're looking for in a great accommodation?
Ooh, good question. 3 things I'm looking for. So for me, it's space is first. Like I just need a lot of space. Like I will try and lean away from a studio, even if it's the more inexpensive option, because I like to have that space. So that's the number 1 key. Lighting is probably another big one. So just a lot of natural light. There was one mistake I made in Lisbon last year where I was in like an attic. It was super spacious, but it had no natural light. And when it's autumn time, that's miserable. So space, natural light, and I guess a bit of like a modern and clean feel to it as well. That's very me. But that's what makes me walk in and feel like, okay, I'm comfortable here. So those are my 3 keys. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then 3 top places that you've been for working and travel.
For working and travel, Lisbon for sure. They've got a very heady startup culture there. So I say people all the time, when you walk in, you see people on their MacBooks, you want to burn your MacBook, right? So that's one key place. I think Dubai is a fantastic place to work and travel. You can do the best of both worlds. You can work very, very comfortably, and you can also switch off immediately because you have the sun, you have the beach, and everything along those lines. And my final top place for travel and working, good question. There's no one that comes to me, but I would say when I was working in Mexico City recently, that was pretty easy to do as well. Again, decent apartment, decent coffee shop culture. So those would be my top 3 at the moment for sure.
As the ratings go on like Nomad's list, Lisbon's number 1 for Europe, Mexico City's number 1 for South America.
Makes sense.
Dubai is the first one in I don't think you want to go and co-work anywhere else in the Middle East apart from like Israel. You go to Tel Aviv.
Good, that's a good point, Tel Aviv.
But those 3 places are absolutely spot on. So guys, we're going to go back inside and enjoy our day. Elliot's going to check into his accommodation. If it turns out to be a catfish, then what he said was wrong completely.
I'm on such a good run right now with hotels and apartments. I'm trustful that it's going to be fine.
Yeah. And where can the people on the vlog find you in terms of your podcast?
Podcast. So podcast is Simply Fit podcast. That is a daily podcast at the moment. And then we have one impressive guest every single week. And then it's going to be Instagram. If you want to follow more of the travel stuff, it's going to post on there, which is at Elliot Hasoon.
Perfect. Right, we'll go and have some coffee.
That is how to travel alone from 2 different perspectives, and maybe a bit of me as well, which is fucking awesome. I'm so glad to have these guys here. It just makes everything a world better. Massive extrovert. I love being around people. Those 2 introverts like a little bit of it. I love it every single day. So interesting. Going back to the UK next week. I'm not looking forward. Actually, this week, on Wednesday. Not really looking forward to the weather. It's going to be really, really cold. But it's for the Autonomy Christmas party / year party, which is going to be incredible. Hopefully, going to be loads of people there. Having it in North London. As well as that, we have a little trip to see Sonny Fodero in Printworks. Printworks, if you don't know, like the place for a rave in London, have an unbelievable track of 2 separate balconies at the top and then one little train down the middle of in a warehouse. Best spot. Got new lights installed. For me, that's a massive thing. So we are going to go there. So the next vlog is going to be probably how to travel, what I'm going to be picking to take with me for a 2.5 week stay, and also a little bit of Sonny Fodero, which is, Sonny is probably one of my all-time favourite DJs. We go and see him at least once or twice a year, depending if he's in Ibiza or he's anywhere else. I think last year we seen him in Ibiza, and I've seen him in Dubai the year before, so I've seen him 5 times now, especially in the UK. So super excited for that one. So, and he's going to be playing with Biscuits as well, and Biscuits is just throwing out some bangs at the moment. It's another passion of mine: house music, going to raves, 2-stepping, living the dream on that side of things. Lights, neon lights, 2 steps. It's going to be great. So catch you in the next vlog. Like, subscribe, please share. If you like what the content that you come with, also if you don't fucking hate it, also let me know because I'll change it. So have a nice day, guys. Speak to you soon.